Water is to California what oxygen is to humans. The state could not exist without it. So when a private company called Poseidon Water decided to build a desalination plant in the city of Carlsbad in San Diego County 20 years ago, they were onto something. Desalination is the process of turning ocean water into drinking water. Simply put, it works by filtering the salt out of the seawater using what's called reverse osmosis. The water can then be put in city pipes as tap water. Desal is used all over the world in places like Saudi Arabia, Australia, and South America, and now here in Carlsbad. In 2012, construction began on this billion-dollar project. It was completed in 2015. Today, the Carlsbad desalination plant has already produced over 22 billion gallons of drinking water from this facility.
It's the largest seawater desalination plant in the Western Hemisphere. It's capable of producing 50 million gallons per day of drinking water from the Pacific Ocean. That's enough water for about 400,000 people in the county of San Diego, where there's about a 3 million population.
Because of its success in Carlsbad, Poseidon has plans for another billion-dollar desal project, this one in Orange County's Huntington Beach. Poseidon wants to build next to this old SoCal Edison power plant on Pacific Coast Highway, just south of the iconic Huntington Beach Pier. Poseidon wants to sell the purified water to the Orange County Water District. OCWD is comprised of 19 water agencies in this region, agencies from the cities of Anaheim and Garden Grove to Orange and Huntington Beach.
So in Huntington Beach, we're in the final phase of the permitting process. We anticipate that we'll successfully obtain all the permits that we need to build the facility by the end of 2018. About 3 years to build the facility, and then we'll be up and running.
Poseidon's Huntington Beach project has been a labor-intensive plan met with all kinds of challenges and obstacles over the last decade, namely from angry environmentalists who tried to stop the project, arguing that desalination harms the ocean, seafloor, and marine life. Recently, and somewhat surprisingly, the Poseidon Company has hired someone many call the most staunch environmentalist the U.S. Senate has ever seen. Former Democratic Senator Barbara Boxer of California is now a consultant for Poseidon. Boxer is doing all she can to promote Poseidon's efforts to build its new desalination plant in Huntington Beach.
I've always believed that desal is critical in terms of the way we adapt to climate change. It's crucial. And I supported this plant as a senator years ago. So here we have our ocean. There it is, as far as the eye can see. And if there are ways to take the salt out of it in an environmentally sensitive way and using the advances of technology, let's do it. And if a private company is willing to pay for the $1 billion, let's do it. And if we want to know if desal works, let's look at Israel, for an example. And let's look right in Carlsbad, for example, where we're seeing millions of gallons a day of drinkable water.
When I heard you talk about water solutions, desal was always at the bottom of the list. If I recall, you would always talk about water conservation, water replenishment, recycling, and then it was desal.
No, you're wrong. If you look back at my record as chairman of the Environment Committee way back 8-10 years ago, desal was in my plan and it was in the bills that I wrote. Just because I may have set it forth doesn't mean it wasn't as important as one or two. But obviously, it's all the above. You've got to do conservation. If we could conserve our way out of this, that would be great. We can't.
You've spent 40 years in public political life, 24 in the United States Senate. You have been a true champion with tremendous conviction about the environment. However, now you've also heard your critics saying you're a shill for Poseidon or you're sort of a sellout.
I've never heard anyone call me a sellout. Anyone who knows me knows that I've been for desal for many, many, many years.
Not everyone in Orange County believes Carlsbad is a success. Swann has spent nearly 40 years studying water and being part of the water industry. Swann is currently the vice president of the Irvine Ranch Water District Board. He has served on the Metropolitan Water District Board in Los Angeles, which is one of the largest districts in the entire world. And he was also on the executive board of the Association of California Water Agencies. Irvine Ranch is one of the agencies within the Orange County Water District to whom Poseidon intends to sell water from its proposed Huntington Beach desal plant. You're not happy with the Poseidon plan for your district. Why?
Because IRWD does not need the Poseidon plan. We have probably the most reliable water supply in Orange County. We have not only the Met supply, we have the Orange County groundwater basin, we have recycled water, we have native water up at Irvine Lake, but we also have a water bank up in Kern County. So between those, in virtually everything we can see out into the future, we have the most reliable water supply in Orange County, so we do not need it.
If you don't need it, you don't want it.
That's right. It should be a choice program. Those who want it, get it. Those who don't want it, don't get it.
Swann's Irvine Ranch Water District serves the city of Irvine, most of the city of Lake Forest, parts of Tustin, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, the city of Orange, and also parts of unincorporated Orange County. That amounts to about 400,000 residential customers. Customers who Swann insists do not want to pay for the added cost of Poseidon's desal water.
People could be paying, especially in the higher tiers, quite a bit more for water if we have to take the Poseidon water, yes. But Poseidon is a program that gives you, water every single day of every single month of every single year for 50 years. So what you have to take that water, it's a take or pay contract. So that water will displace water that's half the cost.
In a drought-stricken area such as Southern California, isn't it better to be safe than sorry and just take the Poseidon water? If in the event you need it, you have it.
There's a great deal of water that you could buy at a fraction of the cost of Poseidon water.
We believe, as proven in Carlsbad, that seawater desalination is the right investment.
So when you hear the folks at the Irvine Ranch Water District saying, hey, we don't want your water, it's going to be 2, 3, 4 times as much as a normal cost of water, what do you say to that?
We disagree. You have to look at the cost of desal over the full life of the contract. We believe the cost of purchasing desalination in lieu of importing water will save the ratepayers in Orange County tens of millions of dollars.
Yet the Irvine Ranch Water District says it's actually going to cost them more.
The Irvine Ranch Water District has invested in a number of their own local water supply projects, as well as projects that involve importing water into Orange County. They have diversified their supply, but that's not true of everybody in Orange County. There are other agencies that are still almost entirely dependent on water being imported from Northern California to Southern California. Not only is that water increasingly more expensive, but it's less reliable. Desalination has the benefit of being truly drought-proof.
Swann says he isn't buying any of this, and he was apparently ready for our interview. He had pages of Poseidon's political campaign contribution records, about $500,000 worth dating back to 2000. Swann says what is being bought are votes.
This is a list of the documented contributions that Poseidon made to local politicians and politicians throughout the state. And the only reason they have to do that is, of course, to get their projects approved. This is a political process. People ought to understand that this is a political-driven process.
What do you mean by that? Are you trying to say they're trying to buy off politicians to get their project passed?
David, I didn't say that.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that they're giving money to help people get into office that will look favorably upon their project.
Is that wrong?
No, it's part of the American process. The people ought to be aware of what's behind, a lot of this. And if they're aware of it, then they'll say, well, you got $10,000 from Poseidon. No wonder you're more interested in seeing this project approved than not approved.
In response, Poseidon tells PBS SoCal, quote, there is nothing uncommon about businesses supporting candidates who understand the value of public-private partnerships and the benefits of drought-proof water reliability, end quote.
The one thing that gets me is some of our opponents say, oh, the water is a little more expensive. Yes, it's a little more expensive. It's not as expensive as they say, by the way. But the fact of the matter is, try buying your bottled water in the grocery store every day. It's a social justice issue. It's an environmental justice issue.